are we going to talk about? So we're going to talk about a really big problem in marketing. And I've been in marketing for over 35 years now. And when I talk to our clients, this is a problem that almost everybody is familiar with, right? Like you're trying new things, you're trying to invest in your marketing and advertising, but you don't know what actually works and what doesn't work. So there's nothing new. This has been going on for a very long time. So we're gonna kind of chat a little bit about that. Like, what are some of the reasons that this is a problem, and what are some of the solutions that we could recommend to make things better for you. So then we're going to talk about a five-step framework that talks about how you can implement it for your business, right? Because we want to be very practical when we do these things. We're going to talk a little bit about a one-page dashboard. So when we start working with new clients, that's something that a lot of people are interested in. So like one central point where all your marketing data kind of comes onto one page, and we have a pretty unique system on how we do that. So I think that's we wanted to share that with you and see if that's something that that could work for you as well. And then at the end, we're gonna give you some practical advice, like where can you start? Like one of the questions that came through earlier on when people signed up was like, where do I start with all of this, right? So we're gonna give you a hand with that as well. And at the end, so again, you have the feel free to ask questions at any time. We're a relatively small group, but then at the very end, we also open it up for additional questions, and we also will probably answer some questions that were sent in advance. Okay, so how do you know that your marketing is working? Like just by a show of hands or something in the chat. Like, are you confident that the work you're doing, the money you're maybe spending on advertising and marketing, is actually working for you?
Nope.
Okay, yes, I got one no. Somebody I can see somebody typing something in the chat So yeah, like you know what? Like that's if you don't measure what you're doing, then it's really difficult to know what works and what doesn't work, right? So that's has been a problem for a very long time. And as a matter of fact, like this John Wanamaker, like he's a very early pioneer when it came to marketing. And his famous quote is, "Half the money I spent on advertising is wasted. The trouble is I don't know which half." Okay. So that's been in the advertising marketing industry going on for a very long time. Now, with with digital marketing, when I talk about marketing today, 90 or 95% of what we get involved in is digital marketing, and that's maybe the same for you, right? That's kind of where everybody is spending time on digital platforms. That's where a lot of the companies are advertising and trying to get the attention of your clients, right? So Lisa, you said like you're not reaching the right people, and that's a really real practical problem, right? So we can chat a little bit about that more how you can actually do that. But the good news is the digital marketing can be measured. Like every click, every impression, everything that happens online is actually measurable. And for example, the like back 20 years ago, there's a lot of like radio advertising, TV advertising that small businesses were doing, print advertising. Now all these things are still valid and they have their place, but it's really difficult for a radio station to measure how many people actually are listening to the radio station. And more importantly, like is anybody acting on what they hear, right? Like it's great that people hear your message, but actually, are they going to actually do something with it? So the good news is digital marketing can be measured, and we have tools available, and you have tools available already that you may not know about that you can actually use to measure some of these things. So every online platform. So when I say platform, I mean Google, for example, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all these different platforms have their own reporting tools. And if you're using those tools, then those are available to you for free. So the data is there, like you can actually see what works and what doesn't work if you know where to look, right? So Robert is going to talk a little bit about, how you can do that in a practical way. So because let's face it, if you have better information about what works and what doesn't work, you can make better decisions, right? So yeah, Christine says too, like definitely hard to know if spending money is worth it. Yeah, and it's true, right? Like, and that's even with the digital marketing, there's still gaps in what we can measure and what we can't measure, but it's definitely better than it was like 20 years ago. So the bad news is in most cases, and you guys have already kind of mentioned this, the metrics, the numbers are scattered across all those different tools and platforms, right? So how can you actually, it's all kind of interrelated, right? What happens on Facebook may actually influence what happens on Google when people search for your business. So having all the data, all that information on different platforms is a real challenge for everybody. It's really difficult to see like a progress, like a result over time. Wouldn't it be nice if you could say, hey, the last 6 months we have increased the traffic to our website, we have increased, so many people have clicked on certain things, so many people have actually done things on our website. Um, you know, if you don't have that, especially if you have to justify your marketing investment, it becomes very difficult, right, to explain that to your boss or to your ownership. And that's typically what we see with a lot of our clients as well. Like as soon as we can actually start showing the hard numbers, what works and what doesn't work, generally speaking, they make better decisions about where we should focus our efforts. Information overload, like has anybody ever logged into Google Analytics, for example?
Yep.
Yeah, Robert, for sure, right? That's kind of your job. But in reality, like for I think for a lot of small business owners, it's just you gotta educate yourself on this stuff and really work hard to understand what it actually does. So marketing is becoming increasingly technical and complex, I think, right? Like when I started my first business like 35 years ago, all I had to do is put a Yellow Pages ad in. And the size of my Yellow Pages ad would basically determine how much business I would get, basically. And maybe there's not people old enough to remember the Yellow Pages here, but the yeah,
I remember.
exactly right. Like when was the last time you saw Yellow Pages anywhere? Like I haven't seen one for a very
No,
long
or I
time.
used to read the yellow pages for something to do,
Yeah,
like a book.
yeah, it was a book, right? Printed book, and everybody. But the beauty of it was like everybody was using it, so so it was actually very effective. But that's we don't no longer have anything like that, right? So now the problem is that you guys all run into, like, where does my audience hang out, and how can I reach them, right? That's still a challenge for everybody. So if that describes you, you're definitely not alone, right? According to some research, 73% of small businesses aren't sure that current marketing is working. So that's quite a high number. And our mission with our business is to lower that number and actually give you confidence and giving you the right information about what works and what doesn't work. Katie, I'm just going to go back to you. Should we deal with some of these comments in the chat bot now, or should we wait till later?
Yeah, I think it's just the consensus of the group is that interpreting that and all the reporting information, all the different data is kind of almost like trying to read a foreign language, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so Tammy says like, yeah, you have the data, you have the information for Facebook and Instagram, but how can you actually look at trends and what does it actually mean, right? So yeah, we'll definitely we'll touch on that.
Yeah, we'll dive
And
into that a little bit here.
yeah, for sure. And then Christine says, yeah, it's hard to understand. I totally agree. Like it's hard to understand for us, for me anyway. So it takes some time. So what we're trying to talk about today is like, what are some options you have available to actually break through all that data and distill the information out of that you actually need, right? Because more data is not necessarily better data. So yeah, so then Lisa, like you're talking about your yeah, like what content are people looking for, right? So of course that's you talk a little bit about lead generation, right? And that's another area that we definitely work in. And it's difficult. I think now with AI, right? Like, has anybody probably noticed AI being used extensively now for creating posts and creating content? Uh,
Yeah, and how do you even do that? Like, do you have to use a different
yeah.
platform and then use
Mhm.
that platform to post onto Instagram and Facebook? Or is it within the current platforms?
Yeah, I don't actually know if Facebook already has AI built in. I'm assuming they probably do, just
Yeah,
like anybody else. Yeah.
We've been
yeah.
using
Meta
like
recently rolled out their AI content generator.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
it's still in the very early stages, I'd say.
Yeah. So yeah, like there's different options for you, Tammy. But the problem is, I think that we see now, because these tools are being used by a lot of people, the volume of content is just increasing. So the noise is increasing. So it's increasingly difficult actually to stand out, right? So like one quick tip about using AI for content generation, like if I don't care how good the AI is, and it's getting quite good. It's not the same as you writing a story or telling a story to your clients, right? Because I think people are going to be nowadays even more attracted to real people and real stories. So I've seen some posts from people that I know and respect, but I know I smell the AI as soon as I look at them. So then I go like, okay, well, Peter, you didn't really write this yourself. Yeah, so right away, I'm not going to be interested in that content, right? So it's a little bit of a different topic, and we can definitely talk about it a bit more. But
Mhm.
yeah, those are some of the problems that you're running into. So the opportunity we see is, okay, how can we give you better numbers, better metrics to make better decisions, right? And in essence, what we really want for you is that to focus on what actually is working and stop doing what's not working, right? Because a lot of businesses, I think, are losing a lot of time and money on tactics that don't bring in any new business. And ultimately, that's of course the goal, right? So our focus is on, see what actually works well, and then go all in on that and spend less on marketing rather than more, get better results. That's ultimately what we want to do. The marketing dashboard, I would highly recommend coming up with a system to kind of, pull all the different information from the different platforms into one, so you can actually make sense of it, right? Like for non-technical people, if you're not a web developer, you still need to be able to read those reports, right? And I guarantee you, if you do the reporting and measuring of your marketing properly, you're going to be light years ahead of your competition. So again, get the best return on your investment. That's really, really important. Like everybody in this room and on this call has a limited budget when it comes to the marketing. I don't care how big you are. I don't care what you sell. I don't care what kind of market you are. There are limitations on what you can do. So we recommend to have a smart marketing budget. So instead of just, putting spaghetti against the wall and hope it sticks, we really want to help you to, focus on the things that really makes the most sense for you. Because what makes sense for you could be very different than what makes sense for your next door neighbor, right? We see a lot of copying of what other people are doing. For example, my neighbor is on Instagram or my neighbor is on TikTok, so I should be on TikTok as well. I don't think it's really the best approach. I think it's probably better to make a plan first and then see where your audience actually lives, and then go, meet them kind of where they're at. So with that, I'm gonna give it over to Robert now. Like I said earlier, Robert is our digital marketing lead. He works extensively on the reporting side because we have to be accountable to our clients that we do this work for. So he's going to talk to you about a little bit of background about, the 5-step plan that we generally go through. And yeah, like then, you could take that information and yeah, kind of start building some of those systems yourself. At the very least, find out where all of the information lives. So Robert, I'll hand it over to you now.
Perfect. Thanks, Peter. Yeah, I just want to take a bit of time here with everybody, just kind of go through these 5 steps and to kind of provide some clarity or some direction of where you can get started, to give you some tips on how you can start implementing reporting or start to understand where you're investing your hard-earned dollars and hopefully start seeing a return on investment. Like I know Tammy and Lisa, you guys both already commented, well, it's hard for me to understand exactly what's going on or what's working and what's not working. So hopefully these next 5 steps, as we walk through them, touch base on them a little bit, kind of provide some clarity and some direction that you can start with and see some light at the end of the tunnel. Because I know it's a big jungle of numbers and graphs and charts. and every single one of them is different. So we just want to kind of simplify that for you here. So we'll start with number one, start and end with the strategy. So tying your reporting to a strategy that matches your business goals. So that's always a big one, right? So don't track or try to do everything under the sun. Focus on what actually drives growth for you. So Tammy, that might be different for you, or for Tim, it might be completely different again, right? So if you're a local plumber, measuring website traffic from another town where you're not focused in, or just seeing a lot of impressions from a post in a town that you're not really geographically targeting, doesn't really add value to your business or your reporting. So just home it back in and try to focus on the service area that you most likely want to see. So for Tammy, you were saying, and for Lisa, you're both in Sylvan. You might extend outside of that, especially if you're within vehicles, Lisa, right? You might have like a 50-kilometer radius or more. But Tammy might be more focused just for the town of Sylvan. So, make sure that you're looking for the numbers that are just applicable to Sylvan. So the strategy determines, the metrics that matter the most to you. So for example, if you're doing brand awareness, you might want to look at just impressions and reach and new website visitors or visitors to your social post. If you're trying to capture leads, right, you might want to look at call tracking or conversions that are coming through to your website. And for sales, you might look at return on ad spend. So how do you track that? How do you understand what that all is? So number two, understanding your audience wants, sorry, go back one. Point two, I should say. Understanding your audience's wants, needs, and buying stages is all different, of course, as well. Every audience is at a different stage, right? Some are at the awareness stage, so they're just learning about you. So they might be typing in, for example, best dentist near me, or best restaurant near me. So they're just trying to find out who are the local businesses or businesses in their area that serve the product or service that they're actively looking for, right? Consideration, they might be looking at reviews from your business, or trying to navigate your website a little bit more, or look at your Facebook page reviews, and just trying to really build an understanding and kind of put a persona together of who you are as a business. So again, their wants and needs are all different. And then some of them are at the decision stage, so they're ready to act now. And sometimes that can all happen, it can be a multi-week timeline for Lisa's stage when somebody's buying a car, or for Tammy, right? It might be within a day. They make all those decisions very quickly within a couple of minutes as they're looking online. So a restaurant might learn that a lot of people, right, are looking at their menu online, right? We have clients that want to look, but that nobody's reserving a table. It also understands, okay, what is holding them back from reserving a spot or booking with your business to get to, have a conversation started. So this is all positive feedback that you just kind of want to build from. And then define your goals and set realistic milestones as well. So, the goal turn is kind of like your scoreboard, if you want to call it that, right? It kind of helps you understand what's exactly happening that month with your efforts, right? If you're running Facebook, Google Business Profile, you have a website, and you're getting all these different metrics coming in. Ultimately, look at this as like your report card. The report is your report card for how well those different online assets that you've so diligently built out, how they're performing and doing. So instead of we want more traffic, right, which is what a lot of people say when they come to us, they say we just want more sales, or we want more traffic, or we want more revenue. We say let's break it down a little bit more. So we want to say let's build up 20% in 3 months. Then it's attainable. We can track it, and it's part of a strategy that we can actually attach to a report as well. And you can actually see the growth from it, which is a lot more encouraging from you as a business owner when you see that as a report and you see the strategy coming to fruition, and it gets you more excited about the business that you're investing into. So, and milestones help you track it as well, right? So month one, for example, it's like just baseline and understanding where some opportunities are, some fixes in your advertising. Month two might be small lifts in traffic, right? You're starting to see some growth. And month three, for example, is when we're starting to convert, we're getting, 4% or 5% more people inquiring with our business. Then you can say the strategy is really starting to take effect, and you can attribute that back to your reporting again. So for a small business, like us, like you, we just say keep it achievable and keep it moving forward, right? Keep it motivating instead of overwhelming. Um, if you want to, like another example that we might run into is, well, I want to house on, I have an average of 100 visitors that I'm seeing on my marketing, on my reporting, and I want to grow it to 500 all of a sudden. That's not realistic. Let's start with a 20 extra users per month in growth. And then at the same time, look at how high intent those individuals are. So make sure we're not just trying to reach for shiny objects, just likes or shares, but actually people that are high intent and looking to make a business decision with you, invest with you. So together, these parts provide some clarity and some goals, right? So your strategy tells you what to measure, your audience tells you what your people want, and then your goals tells you, how you're winning and how you're doing really well at it as well, and where there's might be opportunities. Any questions from anybody before I kind of move on to step 2 right now?
Yeah, so there's a question from Tammy, but I think
Yeah.
we'll answer that at the end of the presentation. But a question from Lisa, what is the best way to drive people to the website? I know some platforms like Facebook don't want you to leave their platform.
Right. That's a great question, Lisa. So yeah, if Facebook, right, they're their own entity. They have their own goals. They want people to stay on their platform because then, they get more engagements from them. A great way to drive people to your website directly is we always tie it back to where people usually go most when they're looking for high intent. So people that are ready to act. And to date, that might change over time, but people still, for the most part, go to Google when they're actively looking for something they need right now. Google is still that core platform that people use when they need a solution to a problem. That's where they're going to go. Facebook and all the other platforms are great for building brand reputation and building like a tribe of followers, people that like you. But people that are new, they're still going to go to Google. So we always say Google Ads is actually a really strong tool to get high intent customers, people that are more likely to act right now and are interested in making a connection and doing a business transaction with you. I would say start there. And again, like I said earlier, make sure you focus on one tool. Don't try to do everything at once because, as you know, as a business owner, it can get overwhelming and stressful trying to manage all of that, all those different platforms, plus you're running your business and your personal lives as well. So if you're going to start anywhere, we always say, focus on the 80/20, right? Focus where your customers are. And for that instance, I would say Google Ads or Google is a great place to start to get people going to your website.
Yes,
So it,
yes. So, sorry, Robert.
oh, go for
Yes.
it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of questions coming up about the different channels that are available right now, right, for any
Right.
small business. And social media is its own subcategory, but of course, social media is divided up in I don't know how many platforms there are, right? But even the big five social media platforms, they're all competing for the attention of your clients. So what we recommend generally, what we see people jumping on social media channels that may not, actually not be the best for them, and again, going back to the limited budget and the limited amount of time you have in your day, we believe it's better to really figure out, okay, like what is the low-hanging fruit, right? Like the 80/20 rule. Like what makes the most sense? So for Tim, I know you're in the concrete business. LinkedIn is probably a no-brainer, right? Because that's where all your clients are hanging out. So that's just an example. I'm not saying that Instagram or the other things don't work, but if there's anything you want to do, and the other thing we see with especially with social media and content generation, and something that you guys all are working on, is how can you actually be consistent in how you show up as well, right? So
Yeah.
Well, and that's a
consistency.
question.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's a question I have too, and I could write it in the thing, but it might take me too long to write it. Is
yeah.
that um, how do you populate a Facebook calendar in one day, and can you copy that calendar from month to month to month, or do you have to keep populating each day of what video or what promotion post you want to put? Because we have weekly, like daily specials every day, they don't change, but I got to keep putting them in every single month. That takes time. Like, can you like carbon copy your month to month so that you don't
Yeah.
have to do that? And then when you want to add new stuff, then you just post the new stuff within the calendar.
I think
Um,
Katie, you could speak on that.
yeah.
I can
Uh,
too, but I know you have experience in it.
so a content calendar is like a great time saver for when you have to create a bunch of content for the month. That way you can kind of plan it out. You can create the content when you have time, and then you can schedule it and kind of not necessarily forget it, but at least get it posted and out that you're not kind of scrambling to get it ready. Um, when it comes to content, I kind of like the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle. If there's certain instances where you're kind of promoting the same promotion every week, what you can do is you can kind of change up the graphic a little bit to kind of add a little bit variety, even kind of change up the wording a little bit, but essentially you're kind of saying the same thing. But just if you kind of tweak it just a little bit, it'll kind of be a little more fresh for your long-term followers while you're still kind of saving yourself a little bit of time.
But you can't copy calendars.
Business Suite you can do. I think Lisa commented here. Yeah, so Meta Business Suite. That's where you can schedule it. I know Hootsuite is another external third-party platform that you can utilize.
Well, I know you can schedule it, but say I have all of January scheduled.
Yeah.
And I know you're saying like change it up a bit, but say I didn't want to change it up and I want to do exactly what I did in January in February. How do you
Yes.
move all that stuff to February? Like I know you would change some stuff and I
Yeah.
understand that, but
Yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately, you can't copy like a whole month's over worth of content over. You can only do it by post by post. Like you can make a copy of an existing post, but you have to do it individually. You can't just do like a whole month's worth at a
that's what my
time.
question is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, some good questions there. We can definitely get back to you on that as well, Tammy, to get you some more information, help you out with that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, I can focus a little bit on number two. I think we covered most of it. But for example, instead of trying to be everywhere, just focus on what works best. And I think Peter, you already touched on it, right? If for example, Tammy, you might be doing Facebook, right, and Instagram, but at the same time, you got to look, okay, who are the gatekeepers, right? If people are looking for a daycare or childcare, or is it a childcare or is it like a play center? Sorry.
No, it's a play center, and that is a
Center.
problem. People do think
Yeah.
that we are a daycare.
Yeah. So that might come back to your messaging, right? But at the same time, if people they might look for you more on Google if they don't know who you are already. So just focusing on one platform really well, mastering it, and then moving on. So like for example, right, a local bakery, like Peter said, might not need LinkedIn, but they might optimize for Google Business Profile, right? And it might be the same for you, Tammy or Lisa. So you got to really understand with your marketing research where your audience live and then focus on that one platform to and really just drive it home on there and then slowly move on as time allows and budget. So tracking metrics that matter. So these are top, I wouldn't say three, but these are ones that we get asked frequently. So cost per conversion, right? Numbers are only useful if they tell you what if you're either, getting a return on investment or if you're losing out. So cost per conversion, how much money or how does it cost to get someone to take your desired action call form? So what does it mean? How much are you paying to take somebody, right, ultimately to get them what you want them to do? So if that's called a business, whether it's a phone call, a form submission. So it helps you understand your efficiency and how well your ads or your campaigns or your website is performing. So if it costs you, for example, $200 in ads that you're running for the week, right, and you get one lead that's only going to convert to a $150 job, well, then you know that Facebook campaign, for example, needs an update, needs an improvement, and that's all where you want to go back to the step one, which is strategy and reporting on it in a very clear and concise manner. Um, Cost conversion rate, so what percentage of people who see your marketing tactics actually convert? So out of all the people who see your ad to your website, how many actually want to take an action? So high traffic with low conversions equals wasted potential. So, right, based on the report and the strategy you've set in place for 3 months, what are you seeing in that? So, example, if we're going back to a restaurant and they see 1,000 people come to their website a month, but only 20 people actually book or actually inquire, um, resulting in an only 2% rate of conversion rate. They might want to tweak the reserve now button or a book table button. And that's where you want to go back and make slight consistent changes. Don't do a massive overhaul all at once. We'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. So if you can make that change and make it easier for somebody to purchase or book a table online and you see a bit of an increase, right? That's where your conversion rate goes up and then your return on investment as well. So for every $1 you spent in, how much money do you get back on it? So that's always a big one that we track. So ROI is the big picture, right? It shows the marketing that what it's doing for you and what it's not doing for you. So if you're not making any money, right? If you put $500 into your ads, this is the example I'm going with, and you make $1,000 from two customers, you know that your ROI is positive and you want to continue nurturing that campaign or that ad group that you're working on. But if you see nothing happening out of it, or you're doing it on Facebook and you get a couple extra likes or follows, you got to really make a cognitive decision and be like, is, 5 extra likes to my page worth the $500 I've invested in Facebook ads? Or would it be better for me to reallocate that $500 to for example, a Google ad campaign where I'm targeting more high intent people that are actively looking for a service or product that I provide? So that's where those three key metrics, and there's lots more, I know, but those are the top three that we like to look at. And we get a lot of questions about when we deal with various different businesses and how we track our reporting and also the strategies that we put in place. So, what are some of the key performance indicators that we're tracking and making sure when we meet with you at the end of the month, for example, right, that we can actually see a trajectory upward. So you're seeing a return on your investment, you feel positive, you feel good about the investment you're making, or you might see a gap or new opportunities where we say, hey, we need to change tactics or gears. Let's refocus and reallocate that $500 budget that you have to somewhere else. Because instead of just trying to do the same thing over and over and expect different results, it's just not going to happen. And especially with digital marketing, you have to be consistently adapting and not always expecting that the first campaign is going to be a home run. You're going to be doing multiples.
So yeah, like when it comes to conversion rate, I think that's probably for everybody on the call. That's the first thing we generally look at, right? Like
Yeah.
when people, so you're investing money, and Tammy, you had some not so good luck with Google advertising, and I don't think you're alone. But oftentimes it's a matter of actually converting those into, like bringing traffic to your website, but then also capturing those leads that come to your website, right? That's oftentimes overlooked. Like not everybody's ready to buy today, right? In most cases, they're checking you out, they see what you have to offer, but if you can, one thing that we work with our clients on is how can we call it the secondary call to action. The first call to action is, hey, buy now. And a small group of your people that land on your website, they're ready to pull the trigger, right? So depending on your product, but there's a large group of people that are just checking you out right now, depending on your product. If you have a uh, high ticket items, for example, it may take 6 months or a year before people actually, get this purchase completed. So there's some tactics available that you can think about, because when people land on this website from the ad, for example, on a particular page on your website, what is there to do for them besides just calling you or ordering the product, right? So, I mean, that's a whole webinar in its own, maybe, and we'll do one on that in the future as well. But yeah, those are some of the basic metrics that you should probably start with.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to kind of touch on it, Tammy, you said you did it for 3 months and unfortunately you got no success. One thing you can tie it back is to your strategy, right? Like how are you setting up the campaigns? What is the end result when you're investing this dollar money with Google Ads? I know they make it look very easy and shiny to say like, hey, all of a sudden you're gonna get more customers when you give us some money. But a lot of times what we found is you gotta tie it back to and ultimately a goal or something that you can actually obtain, right? So make small incremental up increases in your marketing effort there. So, but I'm not, yeah, just some to know as you look at potentially looking at doing some other marketing on, let's say, social media. So number four, before we move on, any other questions? Anyone wants to bring up? Okay, so make reporting a scheduled activity. So, consistency is key. Reports are only useful if you look at them regularly. And that goes for anything. As long as you're actively engaged with them, you will start to see trends, you'll start to see opportunities. But if you only look at it, when, for example, Facebook or Google or your website shoot you an email with a very simplified report with some core basic numbers, it doesn't really give you the big picture overview of what you might need. Still simplifying it, but really to make a decision as to, where am I investing? Is it a smart investment or should I change strategies? So, number one, we always say check if your goals reflect your report. So, your report is a mirror of your strategy, really. So, if your goal was to get 20 new leads, right, going back to obtainable little um, objective goals that we set each month, and the report only shows 12, you can clearly see there's a bit of a gap there. So, right away there, you can work with your team or you can take notes for yourself and say, okay, we need to tighten that up, or we need to set new realistic goals or see where the gap is where we're missing the target. And regular reporting helps you course correct, is like what we like to say. So if you see a small inconsistency or a small issue, you can tackle it right away versus letting it kind of roll on and snowball into a bigger issue, and then it becomes harder and harder to tackle. So set your own pace, weekly, monthly, quarterly. Decide what works best for you. At the very minimum, we like to meet once a month with our clients just because we like to get a clear overview ourselves as we work on these campaigns, but also we want you to feel like you understand what's happening and we want you to feel confident in what you're investing in and you can actually see a clear trend or trajectory of what we're trying to achieve and what we've set together as a goal in our initial strategy. So weekly is great for, quick checks. If you're running active campaigns, you want to definitely check them weekly to make sure there's any new opportunities, if there's any areas of improvement or just small revisions to enhance the campaign's performance. Monthly is most common for small businesses, and that's what we do as well. It's good for spotting trends without being overwhelmed. So you get the information that you need, but at the same time, you don't feel like you all of a sudden don't understand what's happening. And that's kind of seems like what is really starting to take place. And then quarterly is the more big picture review. Is it meeting your, let's say your 2 or 5 year business plan goals? Are we on track? Perfect for strategy planning. And then also looking at your marketing budget that you set for the year potentially, right? If you look at do quarterly meetings, you can say, okay, there's some serious opportunities here or areas where we've been spending where we're seeing no return on investment. We need to shift gears here. We can either reallocate the funds or we need to increase funds. And then you can look at your balance sheet or your income statement sheets for your business and see, okay, how do we reinvest or reallocate some funds for marketing as well? So, and then identifying trends and new opportunities. So, right, they're not just numbers. I know a lot of times that's what it looks like, but they reveal patterns, and that's what you want to understand. You want to understand those patterns. So, you notice more website traffic coming from, let's say, Instagram on Friday afternoons, right? And you see that more regularly as you do your reporting. This might be a great opportunity to say, okay, I need to make my most compelling post on Friday afternoons, and I might even boost a post or even do some small advertisement, boosting it on the weekends because that's when most of my audience is engaged with my material. So then you can right away, right, instead of just spreading it thin, you can be a little bit more targeted as to when you want to, put your or increase your efforts, I should say. And then ultimately pick a schedule and stick with it. Consistency is key. And that's what we want to see there.
I just have a quick question in the chat.
Yeah.
Can we review how to see your statistics on how many people are coming from Google, Facebook, and other platforms? Yes, you can see who's liking posts and following, but where are they coming from and what's their age range? And then can you target these people to draw them in?
Yeah, so it's a lot of questions going on in one big one there from Lisa. So yeah, ultimately, um, can you see where people are coming from Google, Facebook, or other platforms? Yes, usually you need a strong analytics or CRM for that, for example. We do that for a lot of our clients as well. You can, if you're running multiple platforms or different tools, which it sounds like you're doing, Lisa, you want to then filter out, okay, where are they all coming from when they do engage with my business? And that's where a strong CRM actually comes into play, and that captures all the analytics, how people are using your tools and how they're actually navigating to your website. So if you're interested, I know it's not part of this report, but we can definitely send some more information to you on that, just on how you can get started with that as well. And then the same for liking posts. Perfect, we'll do it. liking posts, all of that. What was the other one? Followers, age range, demographics, geographics. We provide all that information when we create reports for clients. You can do it in each platform. What we found with each platform, it's set up slightly different, and I'm sure you've noticed that as well. That finding that information isn't as easy as the Facebook might be different than Instagram, and Instagram might be different than TikTok, and Google is completely different than all three again. What we do for our clients is we collect all that information and we just provide that in one simple report. So it really simplifies it. So for social media, for example, we'll only have one page report just for social media, capturing all that information and then distilling it down to the metrics that are most valuable to you, but also the metrics that are going to be driving that strategy, that goals that we've set together and achieving them. So there's different ways of doing it, but I would say strong CRM is a great starting point. And then from that, you would tie it to a monthly report that you would receive or like a dashboard where you can actually engage and start to understand exactly where all these different individuals are coming from. So yeah, the one page dashboard there as well. So instead of logging into 5 different platforms, I kind of touched on it already as well from taking action. But create one simple report that shows everything. So total marketing spend per month, across the boards, instead of you having a spreadsheet or your notebook running, we include all that in one simple applied report. Number of leads that are generated. That's probably the biggest one, right? That people always want to know, okay, how if I have 100 people coming in from all these different platforms, or 1,000, or if it's 3,000, how many people are actually reaching out to our business? And are we keeping track of that as well? Because a lot of times what we find is number of leads generated is, let's say we get 50 individuals inquiring, is they actively getting followed up with, right? Sometimes they slip through the cracks or they get left behind for a day or two. And for most people, they've already moved on to someone else. If that's the case, or they've moved on, just because there might not be any brand loyalty there yet, or they don't really know who you are. So there's no loyalty to you to get back to them. So what we find with dashboards and with the CRMs and with the reporting is we can actually quickly highlight or show you, hey, you have X amount of leads coming in. You should also then follow up with them, and you can track that through their different stages that we kind of talked about earlier. So that turns your data into an actual strategy again. Instead of just having numbers, it's a strategy you can act upon.
Yeah, so then we definitely have hopefully giving you some options. I want to just be aware of the time and leave some room for your questions so we can get through those as well. So Robert, like you want to look
Yep.
at the demo report, or do we just it'll be included in your
Yeah, I think we could open it up. I did update it, so I don't think we're gonna run through every single page because we did include a
no
lot of it.
no
But
this
what
is
this
yeah.
is, oh, sorry, Peter, I cut you off.
No, that's okay. Like this is basically just an overview of how we have solved this problem, and it pulls the information from all the different individual tools, and makes it only have to download one report and look at one place to keep
Yeah.
track of all the information. So it definitely you can click on this in the link that we're going to send you, and you can take a closer look. But that's a practical way of how we solved it. Now, in the questions that came in earlier, there were some questions about like where do I start, for example. So I want to kind of tie into that, perhaps, Katie. I think that's basically it. We do have an offer for you that we can, you can look at your leisure to actually get it set up in your business. But let's for the sake of time, let's go to some Q&A. So I'm gonna go back to Katie, and anything else that we need to in the chat that we need to address, or maybe some of the questions that were sent in advance.
Yeah, there was a question from Tammy. It was a little separate, it was more content related. So what content do the platforms want to organically push? Static posts, videos, or personal talking in videos? What determines quality content? So I can just quickly touch on that. It really just depends on your audience. What you can kind of do is kind of what we call A/B testing. you can test having the same message but put out in different formats. So if you have the same message but in a video format, if you have the same message but it's say in a static image or a carousel, carousel posts are growing popularity a lot right now. So those are there's multiple images and you can just kind of flip through them. You can try, again, putting the same message out in different post formats. Again, this will kind of tie back to your reporting. You'll kind of see which posts kind of got the most interactions, which got the most views, and then kind of go from there in regards to future content that you produce. And also quality content. Meta, so Facebook and Instagram, they've recently kind of restructured their platforms that they've almost become more search engine based. So basically, not only themselves, people can search the answers on their platforms, but also any posts will show up on search engines like Google as well. So versus hashtags, it's kind of important to provide quality answers to common questions that your audience might have, and then also including keywords into the actual content that you're posting as well.
Thanks, Katie.
And then questions that we had previously come in. So how can I make sure that the money we are spending is making a difference in the areas we are expecting it to?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I can I can give an introduction to that, I guess. So yeah, the the big thing with that is to have a clear plan on who your audience is, like who you're talking to. Like that's oftentimes a step that gets skipped or not really spend enough time on to figure that out. So then I don't care how much money you spend on advertising or marketing. If your messaging is off and it doesn't resonate with the people that are your ideal customers, you're going to spin your wheels. You're not going to get very far. So I think, and Katie, you already alluded to it, like with AI search now, and that's the thing that everybody has to kind of deal with or is dealing with right now. 6 months ago or a year ago, we could fully rely on Google everybody would be Google, right? I would say like 99.9% of people in the world probably use Google to find things. Well, that's no longer the case. With AI, we see a real uptick in people using AI, for example, to find websites. And what we have found is that good content, good quality content, like relevant to the people that have problems that they want to solve, is going to win the day because we see good results coming up from if you have good content on your website, good resources that AI can use to answer the questions that people ask it. That's ultimately the big goal that you should be working on, and we work with on for our clients.
One of the other questions is, can people track their social media in analytics? You can, but it's not as easy. You need UTM tracking parameters to do that, so it gets a little bit more technical. So we say for most small businesses, unless you have, somebody that's diligently working on your behalf doing that, we just get the reporting either through the actual platform itself, or for example, get a simplified report set together like what we do for a lot of our clients here. So you don't have to worry about any of the technical work. You just let us know what your goals are, what your objectives are, and then we do the work on your behalf. But it is possible to track social media and Google Analytics. It's just a little bit more technical involvement to do that.
Another question that we have here, how do you make it make sense? How do you understand what platform reporting means and create more of what works from what is reported?
Yeah, so that's kind of goes back to the fact that all these different platforms that you are represented on have their own reporting structure, right? And that's why we kind of recommend like building a marketing dashboard, something you can pull all the information into one report instead of having to go to all those different places. Because if you don't, like a lot of these things are related, right? So if you get a lot of, for example, you get a lot of traffic to your website, a lot of leads coming in, but they're not converting. Like Robert, you already mentioned this before. That could mean there's things that you need to do to be more effective on using Facebook, for example, as a lead generator. You want to make sure that on your website there's mechanisms there to actually capture leads and actually give people something to do. So you can actually follow up with them. So it all kind of works together. So,
Yeah.
but at the same time, and there was another question I think, Katie, that was asked, like where do I start, right? Like what if I don't want to, hire somebody to do this for me? Like one simple answer is like you can actually, if you're big into the Meta world, and you do a lot of content posting, maybe some paid advertising on Meta. I think the Meta business suite that you have access to, and again, if you have questions about any of these things, let us know because it gets technical pretty quickly. But
Mhm.
the information is there, and if that's the only platform you're really working with right now, you just go to that platform and make the most of it. But it will require a little bit of education as far as getting the most out of those platforms.
The other alternative is if you go to those platforms, you can usually download the reports. If you make a good prompt in ChatGPT, for example, you can ask it to, decipher the information and provide a simplified, answer as to what I should be doing better or should be doing, improving upon. So that's an alternative solution as well. But it still requires you to download all the different documents each month from all these different platforms and upload it. Make sure you have the right prompts. But that is another alternative you could use to kind of get some more direction as to what's working and what's not, and let ChatGPT to decipher your data.
This next question was sort of touched on throughout the presentation. How do you choose what platforms to use?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So like what platforms to use are basically the platforms that your customers are more likely to spend time on, right? And then again, it is becoming increasingly difficult because people are on all those different platforms. But I can tell you uh, one thing, not everybody is on all the platforms, right? So for example, you have people that are all in on Facebook, and Facebook is great and has billions of users, but there's still a percentage of your clients. And again, depending on your business, like if it's more of a lifestyle consumer oriented business, Facebook maybe all you need, right? I still believe you need a website as well, but it can do a lot. But you're missing out if you only do Facebook, for example. You don't have an online presence anywhere else. You're gonna upset a lot of people because some people, and that's everything is divided these days, right? So some people are really against social media, and if I've seen it with businesses that have just a link to their Facebook page, and that's where people are led to when they actually find you. If you have a Facebook account, great, that works great. But if you don't, then that's a real downer. So I think you kind of need to think that through and see and make sure that your assumptions about your clients are correct.
Mhm.
And basically, the best channel is where your clients are hanging out. So we are in the business to business. We help other businesses. So again, LinkedIn is a really important tool for us because we can actually connect with those people on a personal level, right? Whereas with a like a local restaurant, for example, Cilantro, everybody seems to know Cilantro here in Lacombe. They've done extremely well with social because it's a fun product, right? Like, but if you're a welder or you sell concrete or you sell accounting services, people are less interested in really the fun part of it. Although I'm sure there's a fun part as well, but it's it's more about the you're right, like okay, like I'm building a big project now, I need concrete for this project, right? So it's a different decision process that people go through. So I think keep that in mind when you choose your channels, and then like we said earlier, don't try to do everything half fast, right? Like focus on the first, figure out okay, what's the number one most likely channel that will work for you, and then start there and develop it. Get really good at this one channel, and then when that's working and getting you business and new leads, honestly, look at this. What's number two, right? But don't try to do everything at once because you're gonna get yourself in trouble.
So that covers all the questions that came in previously, but I know it was a lot of information during these presentations sometimes. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat, or you can unmute and ask us here. or if you need some time to mull it over, you can always send us an email and we'd be happy to provide our answer for you as well.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank everybody, and we'll stick around for a few more minutes. No, we're not in a rush to go anywhere, but I know you may be or need to eat lunch or something like that. So we want to respect your time. So thank you for tuning in today. We do these on almost like a monthly basis, just because we feel that, we can share some of our expertise and have a discussion. We got some really great feedback from you here, so we're always learning from you as well, like what's really going on in your business, right? Because that's really what's important. So ultimately, our goal is to help you to be more successful. And yeah, if you have any additional questions or thoughts, by all means, we'll stick around for a few more minutes here. And thanks, Robert, for presenting. Thanks, Katie, for moderating. Thanks,
Yeah,
Hayden,
thank
for
you
just
for
being there.
I want to say thanks for the opportunity, and if you have feedback for myself or you found it valuable, that's always appreciated. But I'm always looking to improve, so don't hesitate to leave your feedback. Or what else you'd like to see. If you have another topic or webinar you might be interested in seeing, that would also be good to know.
Yeah, so we'll be sending the slides, the recording, and then actually some of those questions that were sent in, we actually have a written answer formulated for those as well. So either to this afternoon, Katie, or tomorrow, that will be at your email doorstep. So thanks again for coming out.
Thank you.